Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. The Vatican Bank, also known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, has published its annual report for fiscal year 2015. The bank reported a net profit for 2015 of about $18.3 million compared to 2014 net profits of $75.5 million at last year's exchange rate. In his introduction to the report, Monsignor Battista Riccia, prelate of the Institute, stressed that the bank is not and must not become a for-profit institution. It is rather a canonical foundation called to promote works of religion. He said he hopes that the bank will continue to seek to mirror in its work the notion of helping others do their good works in the world more effectively. In a press release, the Institute highlighted the adoption of several regulatory frameworks that included anti-money laundering measures and a remediation process. More news now from the Vatican. During his weekly general audience, Pope Francis explained the lessons in the story of the Prodigal Son. Rome Reports has more from St. Peter's Square.
During a general audience with the threat of rain, the Pope explained the parable of the Prodigal Son. In this moment, humbled by his sins, he returns home to apologize to his father.
Gesù non descrive un padre offeso e risentito, un padre che, per esempio, dice al figlio, me la pagherai, eh? No, il padre lo abbraccia.
The Pope explained how wrong the father's children were in the parable. The youngest thought he would be punished for his behavior, while, on the other hand, the eldest thinks he will receive a reward. Neither of them seem to understand a father's logic. The logic of God, Pope Francis said, is not that of men.
La lógica de la misericordia no entiende de premios o castigos, sino de acoger a todo el que necesita misericordia y perdón, y de que todos vuelvan a ser hermanos.
Pope Francis concluded by saying that for God, as for any parent, one of the things that fills him with pride is to see the love between his children.
Looking now at news from Rome, in February, the Italian government approved a bill that grants legal recognition to non-married heterosexual and homosexual couples. The legislation, known as the Serena bill, was passed by the Italian Senate February 25th after the bill's sponsors removed a proposed clause that would allow for a non-biological parent in a homosexual union to adopt the biological children of his or her partner. The bill received final approval from the government May 11th. Archbishop Bruno Forti of Chieti Vasto, who served as a special secretary of the Synod of Bishops on the Family, called the bill a defeat for democracy and family life. The Archbishop said the passing of the bill through two confidence motions that circumvented a free and open debate was unfair. The Archbishop went on to say that the risk of a new vision for society can take over family life, which is the fundamental cell of society. Back to the Vatican we go. Earlier this week, we reported that Japan's new ambassador to the Holy See met with Pope Francis. Now the Prince and Princess have come for a visit. Rome Reports has more.
Prince and Princess Akishino of Japan visited the Pope on Thursday, accompanied by other representatives from the country of the rising sun, with whom the Vatican has had diplomatic relations with since 1942. It was a private gathering lasting just over 20 minutes, with the second successor in line to the Japanese throne and his wife, who wore a traditional blue kimono. After they arrived, it was soon time to exchange gifts. The Japanese prince presented Pope Francis a large porcelain glass made in Arita, an area famous in Japan for these pieces, and a framed photo with the emblem of the imperial family. Pope Francis returned the favor by giving them his encyclical on nature, Laudato Si. The Japanese prince departed from the Pope in a very warm way. Francis had a message for them.
Preghi per me e tanti saluti all'imperatore e all'imperatrice.
And finally in the news, Pope Francis spent more than an hour May 12th responding to questions from members of the International Union of Superiors General, or the UISG, at the Vatican. In response to a question about a woman diaconate, the Pope said he would set up an official commission to study the New Testament deaconesses. He explained that his understanding was that the women described as deaconesses in the Bible were not ordained like permanent deacons are, but that studying the question of whether women could become deacons would be useful for the Church. He also insisted more can and should be done to involve lay and consecrated women in Church decision-making at every level. Pope Francis also promised to send the UISG a full explanation of why women cannot give a homily at Mass. However, Pope Francis said the obligation to listen to women in the parish, diocese, and at the Vatican is not a matter of feminism, but of right. Close to 900 superiors general attended the meeting to represent the almost 500,000 sisters around the world. Well, that's all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.